Welcome to Across the Goal Line, a sports podcast brought to you by diehard fans. Luke Gossart and Corey Mains in today. We're going to get into the NFL divisional round of the playoffs. It is now over. Divisional round is where we're going, and the wild card rounds is over. Divisional round getting into this weekend. We're going to go over the games and into the divisional round games. We're going to predict those as well. But we're going to start the show today with some college football. The national championship game was on Monday night. We're going to get into that, but I'll throw it over to Luke. I know he wants to say a few things.
This year, last week we started some new stuff. Question of the day. We like to promote our stuff here at the beginning. So the question of the day today is who's going to win tonight's hockey game between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. It's at the Verizon Center down in D.C. I know I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're my favorite hockey team. I don't know who he's going to pick, though, because he likes the Philadelphia Flyers, and he hates both the teams. So, Corey, who are you going to pick for tonight's hockey game?
The Capitals.
You're going to pick the Caps. You hate the Penguins that much, all right? And then, second, as I said, we'll promote ourselves here. So, like our Facebook page, Across the Goal Line. I know we're on my Facebook account today, Luke Goddessart. So, go over to Across the Goal Line. There's links and tabs here on my page. So go like us on Facebook here. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. And then subscribe over on YouTube so you can be sure to stay up to date with us. And then email us any questions or concerns if you have any at Across the Goal Line 2016 at gmail.com. And then number one went down last night in college basketball. Baylor went to Morgantown to play West Virginia. And Press Virginia, as they like to call him. Bob Huggins, he's done a fabulous job in Morgantown since he's been there. They beat Baylor, who actually just got ranked number one for the first time in program history on Monday. They go to Morgantown last night, Tuesday. They weren't even number one for a full day, and they lose by 21. Now, I have a source, a good buddy of mine down in Motown there, Butch Weston. You can follow him on Twitter at Butch Weston. He had said going into the game that he thought West Virginia was going to lose by 15 to 20 points. Well, hell, they beat Baylor, the formerly number one team coming up, assumingly at the start of next week, by 21. So really the tides turned in that game, and Baylor, they've been hot all year. They only have 2 losses now. They're obviously going to make the tournament. Same thing with West Virginia, unless both teams just literally shit the bed from here on out, but I don't see that happening. Baylor went to Morgantown. Number one went down for the first time this year. We normally see it every year, but normally all the upsets are in the tournament. Baylor lost. We'll move on now. Coaching changes before we get into the FCS National Championship game and the College Football Playoff National Championship game, which were this past Saturday and Monday, respectively. Coaching changes. As I said, Minnesota fired Tracy Claeys last Tuesday night unexpectedly. And I had said last Wednesday on the show, you can go check it out, episode 39, right here on Facebook and over on YouTube, that they should go out and hire Western Michigan's head coach, PJ Fleck. And I don't know if they took my advice on that or not, but they did go out and hire PJ Fleck last Friday. And he did a fabulous job in Kalamazoo for the past 4 years. His first year, they went 1-11. And then this past year, they went 13-0 in the regular season with a MAC championship. And then 13-1, they finished out with a loss to Wisconsin last Monday afternoon in the Cotton Bowl. But when you put a MAC team up against a Big Ten team in a big bowl game like that, the better conference is going to prevail. PJ Fleck, he's a new Golden Gopher head coach. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota, a lot of people said Minnesota would be representing the West in the Big Ten championship game this year. They did not do that. Wisconsin did. But I would not be surprised if Minnesota's in the Big Ten championship game representing the West, for years to come. PJ Fleck, he's a great coach. He's going to put a great staff together. He's bringing his offense coordinator from Western Michigan to Minnesota with him. So you're going to see the same type of style that he ran in Kalamazoo in Minneapolis now. Minnesota, they're on the rise again. So don't be surprised if they're winning West Division titles and Big Ten titles and maybe even Rose Bowl championships in the next couple years. And then another shocker, Cal fired Sonny Dykes, who went 19-33 in 4 seasons with the Golden Bears. Some candidates for this job, I think, Les Miles, former LSU head coach, and then formerly the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers in the NFL, and then former Oregon head coach Chip Kelly, getting back, into the swing of things. I think he'd be a good candidate for this job. And it reminds me of, and we'll get into it here in a second, with Nick Saban going to Alabama after he coached at LSU, won a national championship there. Now, Chip Kelly went to a national championship with Oregon, did not win, lost to Auburn on a last-second field goal, and then bolted for the NFL. Kelly, as I said, went to the Eagles and then 49ers after being fired in Philly. Saban goes to the Miami Dolphins, gets fired, comes back to Alabama. The rest is pretty much history with that. He's won 4 national championships in Tuscaloosa, and they obviously lost on Monday night. He could have won back-to-back titles for a second time in Tuscaloosa, but that did not happen. But Chip Kelly, I think he'd be a good fit in Cal with the Golden Bears. But if they don't hire him, I think they might be making a huge mistake. Obviously, somebody knows something, deep down, and with him recently getting fired by the 49ers, it was probably the right time to fire Dykes, even though it was this late after the season got over, and you bring in Chip Kelly. And the funny thing about it is, too, Corey, Saban coached at LSU, came back to Alabama. Kelly coached at Oregon, maybe possibly comes back to Cal. Coming back to the same conference he left, SEC Pac-12. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chip Kelly is hired as the new Cal head coach, possibly by the end of the week. They fired Dykes on Sunday afternoon, so they do need to find a head coach here soon because National Signing Day is coming up the first Wednesday in February. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chip Kelly's the new Cal Golden Bear head coach. And then with the NFL, as I said, there's some new head coaches there. The Jaguars hired Doug Marrone, who was the head coach for Syracuse from 2009 to 2012. And then he coached the Buffalo Bills from 2013 to 14. But then he resigned unexpectedly, took a offensive line coach for the Jaguars, promoted to assistant coach this past year, filled in as the interim after they fired Gus Bradley with 2 games left this year. And then a lot of people thought maybe they'd hire Tom Coughlin. Well, they did hire Tom Coughlin. They hired him as an executive vice president. So he's coming back to Jacksonville to help out with the franchise. But then they thought Marrone would be the best fit for their head coaching position. So Doug Marrone's the new head coach of Jacksonville Jaguars. The Denver Broncos making some news today. They're going to offer Vance Joseph the head coaching position. He is currently the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator. He has coached in Denver because Adam Gase coached in Denver as an assistant before he went to Chicago, and then now as the head coach of the Dolphins. So Vance Joseph could possibly be the new Denver Broncos head coach by tomorrow or by the end of the day today. And then the Buffalo Bills, as I said, after Marrone resigned, they hired Rex Ryan. Well, Rex Ryan, he was there for 2 years, less than 2 years, a total of 31 games. Got fired with 1 game to go this year. They're going to offer the head coaching position to Sean McDermott, the current Panthers defensive coordinator, hot candidate on the rise. So don't be surprised if Sean McDermott is the new Buffalo Bills head coach. Buffalo, they're going somewhat in the same direction as what they were with Rex Ryan, both defensive-minded coaches. But really, I think their problem is on offense because the offense has to put up points, and their defense would still stay intact. If they went out and found a offensive-minded guy, but obviously not the case at the moment. But things can change. We've seen things change like this before. So when presumably somebody's going to be offered it and then they don't get it. But those are head coaching changes. And then the FCS national championship game, I know I'm rambling on here, I like to talk a lot, was this past Saturday, as I said, in Frisco, Texas. Corey picked James Madison. I picked Youngstown State. James Madison won by a final score of 28-14. Bo Pelini, he's going to be staying in Youngstown, I think. He's not going to be leaving. Maybe he's a candidate for the Cal job. I don't know, but I think he'll be there. So officially, as we wrap up the college football season, hard to believe, but July and August and September are going to be here before you know it. July is when media days are going to be. Fall camp's going to start in August. And then at the end of August, early September is when the regular season is going to be starting, along with the NFL preseason. And then I went 46-25, and Corey went 50-21 on the year in the FCS. So he only beat me by a slim margin, but that 4-game margin, was just enough to defeat me in the picks. And then you want to get into the college football playoff national championship game now?
Yes, let's get into it right now. Number 2 seed Clemson Tigers win their first national championship since 1992, beating the Alabama Crimson Tide 35-31 on a game-winning touchdown with just 1 second remaining by Deshaun Watson to Renfro, 2-yard touchdown pass to win the game and to secure that first national championship. Watson set a national championship game record, breaking his own record from last season for passing yards in the game with 420 yards, 406 last season, breaking his own record, like I said. Clemson off to a slow start in that game, only had 7 points at halftime. A Deshaun Watson run, so he got the scoring started, ended the scoring as well. So, but 14-7 at halftime, they came back, overcame a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter, scoring 21 points in that quarter to defeat Alabama. It's the most points by a Nick Saban team in the fourth quarter allowed, especially at Alabama, 21 points. Ending the Alabama 26-game win streak dating back to last season, I guess.
2015, when they lost Ole Miss.
Yeah, so
at home.
Alabama's been really dominant lately. Clemson is the first team in a really long time to kind of crack their barrier almost.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the questions coming into this game are about how was Steve Sarkisian going to run the offense in Alabama.
Yeah.
Not too bad. I mean,
I thought he did a great job.
It wasn't really the problem. You could argue it was for a minute there because they were up by 14 at one point, and then they were 14-0, and then after that, like the next 7 drives, they only had 47 yards total.
Yeah.
And they punted about I think it was 12 times in the entire game, which is the most for a Saban team ever. So their offense kind of stalled there, and they picked up a little bit at the end, at the last second charge, trying to win that game again. And Jalen Hurts' 30-yard TD run with about 2 minutes left. Put them up by, 3?
Yep,
31-28. And then gave Deshaun Watson 2 minutes to make something happen. He did.
2 minutes too long.
2 minutes way too long.
Too much time. I said it whenever they scored. They should, run some more time off the clock, and then possibly even kick a field goal because it was tied at that point.
Yeah.
Actually, they're down. They're down 28-24. Excuse me.
Clemson just got their first lead of the game.
So, Sark, I thought he did a great job. Really, in the second half, I mean, as Corey said, it was 14-7 at halftime. It was actually since 1981, first time since 1981 that Clemson won their first national championship, not 1992. I don't know where he saw that at. It's been 35 years.
ESPN.
Well, ESPN was wrong. It's been since 1981, Clemson won their first national championship, so it's been 35 years. Some other streaks were broken in 2016, too. Villanova in college basketball has been 30 years. The Cavs in the NBA, 45 years. And then, most famously, the Cubs, 108 years, won the World Series. But go back to the game. I thought after Bo Scarborough went down with an injury, Larry came out as he broke a bone in his leg. Alabama's offense went to shit. And it made Jalen Hurts have to make all the plays. An 18-year-old true freshman who came into Alabama this time last year and before the national championship game on the practice squad was playing as Deshaun Watson. And then, obviously, Alabama won last year, but Clemson pulled it out. Hunter Renfro catches a 2-yard touchdown pass with 1 second to go. And Hunter Renfrow, he's 5'9", 185 pounds. A lot like Wes Welker, I think, in my opinion. And he's a former walk-on at Clemson. He has got a scholarship by this point now. And if he didn't by now, he should have. But it's a lot like Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney walked on at Alabama as a wide receiver. And I bet you he's real happy, defeating his former team that he played on and coached on for a little bit before he came to Clemson as an assistant before getting the head coaching job, to defeat his old team. So, but, I mean, kudos to Clemson. I mean, I picked Alabama, but I said I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson won. I knew it was going to be close. I mean, Clemson only won by 4. I thought Alabama would only win by 2, but the national people were arguing too about, we should expand the playoff. We should expand the playoff to 6, 8, 10 teams. Well, yeah, the semifinal games the past 2 years really haven't been that good, but the national championship game the past 2 years and the past 3 of the 4 have been really good. The only one that wasn't was when Ohio State defeated Oregon. They just blew them out in the second half and won by 22. But you go back to the last BCS national championship game, Florida State defeated Auburn on Jameis Winston's game-winning touchdown pass to Kelvin Benjamin, who are both playing in the NFL now for the Panthers and the Buccaneers respectively, with 13 seconds left. So the games have come down to the wire lately, and that's why college football is fun to watch. You just don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, kudos to Clemson, but Sark, I thought he called a great game. Back to that, I thought he called a great game. Just Alabama's offense, the players just weren't playing as good as what people thought they would have, especially late in the game. Because Alabama, they're on a 26-game win streak. As I said, the last loss was September 19th, 2015 to Ole Miss at home. And then I saw an interesting note too. The 3 college football playoff national champions, Ohio State in 2014, Alabama last year in 15, and now Clemson, they all lost one game. And that one game was all at home. If you remember, Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech. Alabama lost Ole Miss, their last loss, until Monday night. And then Clemson lost to Pitt this year. So, I thought those were really interesting. But yeah, Clemson, your 2016-17 college football playoff national champions. We'll have to see if they can repeat. They are losing Deshaun Watson to the NFL. He declared for the NFL. Who knows who he'll be drafted by? He will be a first-round pick.
How high?
I think. Top 20.
Top 20?
Top 20. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 pick at the moment. But the NFL draft is not until the end of April. So we still got the Combine next month. We still got pro days. Who knows if maybe he pulls his hamstring working out or something. And then he's not able to, run the 40-yard dash or, just do one little thing that could, make him rise in the NFL draft to possibly that top 5 pick that I don't think he's going to be at the moment, but he'll definitely be a top 20 pick. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is a top 5 pick just because of, he's a winner at Clemson. He's played in back-to-back national championship games, losing one, winning one. And as Dabo Swinney said, I mean, you can put him up with Lamar Jackson. You can go back to that Louisville Clemson game back in the first week in October, on October 1st, and argue that if Clemson would have won that game, Deshaun Watson would be your Heisman Trophy winner right now. But with Louisville winning, Lamar Jackson is, but then you put his numbers up against him. Lamar obviously had better numbers. But Deshaun Watson was one of the best players in college football in his 4 years at Clemson. He's going to be a good NFL player. He's going to be a good franchise quarterback if he gets into the right system. Who knows, as I said, what team that's going to be. I haven't even thought about that yet. So, yeah. Clemson beat Alabama. I don't know what else you had to say.
Well, going back to Watson real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to argue against his resume going into a draft if you're an owner or a coach. Just looking at what he did in college alone.
Yeah.
You mentioned the 2 national championship games. Breaking records in the national championship game, throwing the ball, 400-yard games in national championship
Yeah, and
games.
he's actually the first. He's actually the second player to play against Nick Saban to have back-to-back games, obviously in consecutive seasons, with 300 more passing yards and 3 touchdowns in each game. The only other one was Chad Kelly, who played for Ole Miss, who, as I said, the last loss Alabama had was to Ole Miss in 2015. So, yeah, go on.
But yeah, you look at that resume, 2 great performances in national championship games, the biggest games of the season.
Yep.
Also, Heisman Trophy, he's been right there. Finalist in the last 2 seasons now. Got to look at him just from what he's done in college standpoint. I don't like looking at the combine as much. I'd rather look at people, what they can do on the field rather than what they do off the field in a workout. Because workout's only part of it.
I know.
What you do come Sunday is the most important part. And I think you got to look at their resume, what they did in college partially. And Deshaun Watson going against the best of the best.
Yeah.
Being in the college football playoff, obviously.
And a lot of people thought Alabama, they could have been the best team to ever play the game. Going back, and this goes back to the USC-Texas game to end the 2005 season. And a lot of people thought the ending was very similar. Because Watson, he could have ran in right at the same, obviously 2 different stadiums, right at the same end zone, same pylon right there at the, it'd be you're looking at it on TV, it'd be the far side of the field, and then run in, but run through. A lot of people are going to argue about that pick play too, but in that situation, you just don't call it. Really, you just don't call it. The refs, they got it right. And then a lot of people are going to argue about the pass interference call, but clearly it was pass interference at the 2-yard in the end zone, which put the ball at the 2-yard line, which set up that pass play. Because who knows if they don't call it pass interference call, Clemson's still back at the 15-yard line. They're gonna have to kick a field goal then to possibly tie this game and go to overtime. And who knows what would have happened in overtime.
They still would have shots for the end zone, though.
Well, they did, but in that situation, you probably just want to, kick a field goal and go to overtime.
They had timeouts. They could have made plays.
They did. They did have 2 timeouts. And as I said, going back to that Texas game, Texas-USC game, very similar. Texas got the ball back with 2 minutes to go. They had 2 timeouts. They did have a Heisman Trophy winner in Vince Young, a lot similar, very similar to Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, just keep going. I'll interrupt you if I, like I normally do.
But otherwise, just Sarkisian. I know people were wondering if he was going to hurt the offense at all by just randomly coming in because he hadn't actually been the coordinator the entire season, whatever. But you can argue that they played better offensively than they did against Washington with Lane Kiffin as the coordinator.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They didn't look too good. It was only Bo Scarborough that did anything in that game against Washington.
Yeah, and then he did a lot in this game too. And then, as I said, he went down with the injury, and that's what I thought. Alabama's offense just went down the hill after that.
But I mean, it's not to give credit or not to give away credit to Washington, because Washington is or was a team that was ranked in the top 10 in both offense and defense this season. Mm-hmm. They're a talented defense, but nevertheless, you can argue that they were better in the national championship game, especially Hurts having to come out and make plays, and he did just well having to be the guy and needing to make plays. Fantastic 30-yard TD run there to put them ahead. One of the best runs I've seen probably from a quarterback in a while. The way he navigated there on that play, weaving between Clemson defenders. Amazing play, but it did end up being a problem that they scored so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because they gave Deshaun Watson just a little bit too much time, of course. And then about the pick play, I'll just end with this. The pick play, it's kind of a cheap way, though, I feel like.
It is. I mean,
it wasn't
everybody does it. everybody does it. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. And coaches are going to argue it every single time. If it gets called against them, they're going to say, "Oh no, it wasn't a pick play." But then if they're the if they're the one doing it, they don't care. But if it gets called against them, they're raising hell with the refs, saying, "Oh, it was a pick play," and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, in that situation, you just don't call it, especially when the national championship game is on the line, because the defender still had a chance to get there. As I said, especially in the national championship game, you don't want to see a game end like that, with both teams being, Alabama was 14-0, Clemson was 13-1, both 14-1 now. But you just don't want to see a game end like that. I mean, if it was in the middle of the game, who knows? But at the end of the game, you just don't call it.
Yeah, it was just kind of it felt like cheap, a little bit anticlimactic because he's just wide open in the end zone. All he was just toss it to him. Watson does. A bit anticlimactic.
Well, Watson, he wanted to run it, and Dabo said no, and they drew that up, and obviously it's in everybody's playbook. As I said, everybody does it, and Renfro, he was wide open in the end zone. Now, if he would have dropped it, the game would have been over, and
well, no, we would have 1 second.
Well, who knows if he would have dropped? Time might have went off. Game more than likely would have been over.
Funny thing, there should have been about 2 seconds left on the clock after that play, because he scored the touchdown with 2 seconds, but they ran a second off anyway. But I feel like they still would have had a second left. At least they should have, if the clock management or the clock guys were doing their job properly.
Yeah,
they should have.
So
even if
that happens all the time.
It happens every field goal, I swear. There's like 2 second runoff for random reasons, even though the field goal's already made. Mm-hmm. Like you see that all the time. But nevertheless, let's get into some NFL now.
Well, I wanted to say Nick Saban with the loss. It was his first national championship game loss. As I said, he won with LSU and then won 4th Alabama. What else do I have here on the game? Clemson's going to be back though next year, even though with losing Watson. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, but Dabo's going to have his team ready to go, and Alabama's going to be back, obviously. And then I think some teams next year that could compete with Clemson and Alabama would be Florida State, the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl champ, the Rose Bowl champ USC, Michigan, who lost to Florida State by 1, Penn State, who lost to USC by 3 on a game-winning field goal, Ohio State, who lost to Clemson, and then Georgia, Oklahoma, and Louisville, and Lamar Jackson. That's all I have about that, and I just want to throw that in there real quick. But yeah, let's move on to the NFL now.
Yeah, wild card weekend here this weekend, and very uneventful, I would have to say. None of these games this weekend were very exciting, I would say. Most of them were pretty much blowouts in the end. We'll start with the very first one. It was the ESPN, the ESPN game for the
ESPN
season.
ABC.
Yeah, they had it on both channels.
They had simulcasting.
Yeah, but Texans beat the Raiders pretty expectedly, 27-14. We knew Connor Cook wasn't going to probably have a good day. He did not, threw a bunch of picks. And Texans defense looked great.
They couldn't run the ball either. So
could not run the ball either. Texans have the number 1 ranked defense in the league, though. So.
They do.
I mean, that is something to keep an eye out for going into the next round as well. Then the nightcap for this wildcard weekend, the Seahawks expectedly beat the Lions 26-6 by 20 points. Thomas Ross had a huge game. They got their running game going that day.
That game was real close, so in the middle of the third quarter. Detroit could have came back, but Seattle just kept their foot on the pedal and won by 20.
And then Sunday, the Steelers expectedly, I would have to say, beat the Dolphins, and Matt Moore roughed him up a bunch.
Oh, he got drilled as well. He got knocked the F out.
Steelers win 30-13. Another 17-point win there. All these games, double-digit victories. And then the Packers beat the Giants, end up blowing them out. It was pretty close heading in about the fourth quarter. It was about 24-13. And then the Packers, they scored a touchdown, got a turnover, scored another one. End up winning, but 38-13. End up winning by 25 points.
Yeah.
Ends up being a blowout. So, and you mentioned this before the show, of course. All the home teams, technically the lower seeds, but the higher seeding, I say, win the favorite team, you could say.
Yeah, all 4 home wildcard teams won this year in the wildcard round, unlike last year when all 4 away teams won. And then we both went 3-1 last week, too.
Yes, we both went 3-1 because I obviously don't pick the Steelers, and then you picked the Giants.
Yeah.
So, nevertheless, we'll see if the divisional round's a little bit more exciting here. These are some pretty good matchups we got going in. We'll get into it right now, the predictions, because we can't really... We can go over the games maybe if we wanted to. We kind of just did a little bit. But like I said, there's not really much to talk about in these games. All of them are double-digit wins. Nothing super to talk about in any of them, I would have to say. Texans, just their defense.
3 of the 4 rematches from earlier this season.
Yeah, the only one that wasn't
was the Packers-Cowboys game.
No, the Seahawks-Lions. I'm talking about the wild card.
Oh, you're talking about the wild card still?
Yeah, the wild card round. Seahawks.
Yeah, well, 3 of the 4 in the divisional are rematches.
No, they all are. The Cowboys defeated the Packers in Green Bay earlier this season.
That is true. I've totally forgot about that.
These are all rematches
that
in
is
the divisional
true.
round. But, yeah, if we wanted to go over the games...
I was wrong on that.
Raiders had Connor Cook. Texan defense dominated. Seahawks, Thomas Rawls ran the ball really well. Shut down the Lions' offense really good. Just mentioned that the Packers got ahead late, got some turnovers of Eli. Steelers basically dominated the Dolphins from the jump. Dolphins got a late touchdown, really. And that was about it. So divisional round now. I'm just going to go through it in order, not in order of when they're going to be played, just kind of AFC, NFC. Okay. So we'll start with the 1-4 now. It's the Texans going to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Luke, who do you have?
I'm surprised I'm going to take the Houston Texans in an upset over the New England Patriots this Saturday night on CBS at 8 o'clock. The Texans, they have some connections with New England. 3 coaches on the Texans staff and then 1 player. Bill O'Brien, he was the offense coordinator for the Patriots before he went to Penn State. Romeo Crennel, defense coordinator for the Patriots. He's defense coordinator for the Texans. O'Brien's the head coach, obviously. And then Mike Vrabel, former player for the Patriots. He's the linebackers coach for the Texans. And then Vince Wilfork, current player for the Texans, big defensive tackle, played for the Patriots for a very long time. So with those connections, they know what the mastermind, Bill Belichick's going to have up his sleeve to prepare for this game. O'Brien knows how Brady plays. He coached him for a couple seasons. So I think Houston goes into Foxborough, wins. I'm not going to pick a score. I'm not going to say it's going to be close or Houston's going to win in a blowout. I'm just going to say Houston's going to beat New England. If something happens late in the game, pass interference call or, something that, New England could have won off of. But, I think Houston's going to upset New England.
Well, I got New England. The Texans lost the Patriots earlier this season in Foxborough, 27-0, got shut out.
On a Thursday night. Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback in that game.
Yeah, I know.
Tom Brady's the quarterback for this game.
I remember watching it.
And that's just simple enough for me. It's got to be New England in this game. In Foxborough, Tom Brady does not lose in Foxborough. Rarely he does, if at all, for the most part. Like I said, they already beat him head-to-head once this season, shut him out without Brady. You're adding Brady, a guy who kind of playing angry, I have to say, this season because of his suspension earlier. But it's got.
And who knows? He could still win the MVP. He could.
Matt Ryan's the front runner right now.
A lot of people are going to say Aaron Rodgers now because the Packers are just so hot. But we both said Matt Ryan last week, and I'm sticking to it. I know he is.
Well, current polls were saying Matt Ryan.
So
some of them.
But Osweiler, he's going to start for Houston again, second straight week. We'll see how he plays. As we said, this is a rematch from end of September. I believe it was I think it was September 30th when these two teams played. Or no, it's.
I'll let you know it's week 3.
Okay,
and you can decide the date.
Okay, it was. What day was that then? I don't know. I really don't care. As you said, it is week 3. That's good enough. But I mean, who really cares when these teams play? They're all rematches. So
they are all rematches. I gave you like a little bit of a simpler explanation of why I think the Patriots are going to win. Also, yeah, the Texans do have the top-ranked defense overall. Yes, but of course, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Tom Brady enough. Add to that, their offense isn't exactly great. Osweiler is not very confident in the offensive system.
No.
He looks very, I would say, nervous a bit, a little bit tentative throwing the ball at times.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to make a mistake here or there. Patriots are trying to get a couple turnovers off him, I believe. And it's just going to fuel the victory for the Patriots. I think it might be another double-digit victory if we're going back to the last round where there's all double-digit victories. So
if Houston wins, they're done playing at home this year. If Houston wins, they got to go to either Pittsburgh or Kansas City, whoever wins that game, to play the AFC title, for the AFC title. But if New England wins, that's where the AFC Championship game will be played at on Sunday, January 22nd.
Yes.
At 6 p.m. on CBS.
All right, let's get into that other game, the Steelers versus the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I know you're picking the Steelers.
I have to.
But do you want to give any reason why?
Well, I mean, people
other than that you like them.
Oh, yeah. People are going to say, well, who knows if Ben Roethlisberger is going to play with, his walking boot. But he's not even wearing a walking boot anymore. He's not even limping. He's going to play. He'll be fine. He's one tough son of a bitch. So Ben Roethlisberger, he might not do as much as what he normally does. Especially getting the ball out to his wide receivers. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to have a big day for Pittsburgh to get maybe a 10-point win. If he doesn't run the ball as well as what he's been lately, I think Pittsburgh still wins, though, less than 10 points, though. But as we said, this is another rematch. Pittsburgh absolutely blew out Kansas City at home on Sunday night back in October. And Antonio Brown had a big night. Marcus Wheaton had a big night. Mostly everybody had a big night on offense. So, and Le'Veon Bell didn't even play in that game because he was still suspended. Who knows how he'll play, but I think with him having big games lately, I think he'll have another decent game, but if he doesn't, Pittsburgh will still win less than 10 points, though.
Obviously, I'm going Chiefs. I never picked the Steelers ever.
And then Pittsburgh is going to host Houston in the AFC title game by those predictions.
But nevertheless, Chiefs, yeah, they did blow them out in Week 4. There's one important factor to all this, though. This game will be in Arrowhead, not at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. It's going to be in Kansas City. That's going to be a huge factor, I believe. It's going to be really loud there. Going to be really rowdy. The Chiefs fans will be in full force.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll be very red in Arrowhead, I will say.
It will.
It's going to be hard for them to beat Kansas City a second time this season. Kansas City's only probably gotten better since that loss. It was a blowout loss, like you said, on Monday night. It was Sunday night. But Kansas City, they've looked better lately.
Yeah.
Offensively, defensively. They have a good balance, which is why they're a tough team, I think. That they're going to be hard to beat in these playoffs. They have a really good balance. They have a pretty decent offense with a good defense. They have the right balance, I believe.
Yeah.
Just to do things, maybe even win the Super Bowl. Who knows? Make it to the Super Bowl.
If they do make it to the Super Bowl, it could be a rematch of Super Bowl 1 when they put the Packers.
Could.
So 50 years later, could have a rematch of the Super Bowl. This game's on Sunday, too, by the way, on NBC at 1 o'clock. Well, I was going to say something else. I just totally forgot. Pittsburgh went to Kansas City last year during the regular season. So these teams, this is going to be the third matchup within the past year and a half.
The Chiefs won that game.
And the Chiefs did win that game, but that's because Landry Jones was the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers that game. Ben Roethlisberger was injured, was not playing. Ben is playing now in this game, so Pittsburgh still wins.
All right. We'll move on now. Let's go with the Seahawks-Falcons first, because I know Packers-Cowboys is probably the one that everyone's going to want to look at. It's probably the biggest one of all of these that people are going to talk about, at least, I do believe. So we'll go Seahawks-Falcons first. I had Packers-Cowboys down first just because of seeding, but I had the one seed listed first. But Seahawks-Falcons, who do you got in that one?
I'm going to take the Falcons. Matt Ryan, as we said, could be the NFL MVP. Their offense is just putting up so many numbers this year. And Seattle, they had to go A lot like last year. They won their wild card game, and then they went on the road to an NFC South team. They lost to the Carolina Panthers, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Broncos, but I think Seattle, they're going to Atlanta. This will not be the last game in the Georgia Dome this year. I think we're going to have another rematch next week in the NFC title game. And, Atlanta beat Seattle this weekend.
All right,
on Saturday.
I also have Atlanta. They only lost by 2 to them in Seattle earlier this season, which is impressive as it is, going into Seattle and almost winning there.
That came down to a pass interference call at the end that wasn't called. And Dan Quinn, former Seahawks defense coordinator, is the head coach for the Falcons now. He knows what Pete Carroll's going to do, so I think that gives him another edge, and they're playing at home too. So,
and then you have Atlanta in the Georgia Dome at home with a high-powered offense against a Seattle team that's not very good on the road. They're only 3-4-1 on the road this season.
That's not very good.
And their 3 wins aren't even against the best teams in the league or anything. I know one of them.
The tie was Arizona. Okay.
If I recall correctly, their 3 wins on the road are 2 teams with a combined record of about, or not combined record of amount of wins of about like 8 or so.
Yeah, not very good. I know one of the teams would have been the Jets, and I remember the Seahawks beat the Jets.
Also the Niners at the end of the season.
Okay.
And then
too.
Another one, it might have been Cleveland. I don't even remember.
Nah, Seattle didn't. The AFC North didn't play the NFC West this year.
I forget who, but I know it wasn't the best record for all these teams. And then
whoever's watching, look it up for.
Well, actually, it's probably just the Rams, I guess, because they lost to them on the road, and then they probably beat them at home. Yeah, it was the Rams who they crushed. So the Rams.
Okay.
So that's a total of what 11 wins for their road wins.
That's awful.
That's the
and now they're going to Atlanta, who just won the South.
Who have 11 wins.
As one team. You combine 3 teams and put them into one, you get the Atlanta Falcons.
So
who they're playing.
And you consider their 4 losses and even the tie. Rams, they only put up 3. 6 against the Cardinals, they tie.
And a tie, yeah. Which is basically a loss.
Yeah.
So 4 losses. So you put the Cardinals in there.
5 against Tampa. They put up only 20 against the Saints team who likes to give away points to teams. So 20 against the Saints isn't even that good, I would have to say, in the Superdome. And then is that it? It might be. Yeah, it is. Yeah, no wait. One more loss. I forget who it is though.
For the Seahawks
on the road.
They beat the Patriots on the road.
They did
on Sunday night.
That is their one big road win.
Yeah.
That is their one big road win. They did beat the Patriots, though, on Sunday night, which is a huge game. In the end, because that was a Super Bowl rematch from 2 years prior.
Super Bowl 49.
2 years prior, so that was a huge win for them. That was their only big win on the road.
Yeah.
Easily. Their only real win on the road, I guess I should say. But, nevertheless, getting back to the game, Atlanta, they're probably going to put up a whole bunch of points. I know Seattle's defense is pretty good, but are they going to be good enough to stop Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, all those guys? Are they going to be good enough to stop them going on the road on the east side?
Yeah,
that's another thing. Got to travel cross country as well. Will they be able to stop them?
They've traveled across country this year, as we said. They went to Tampa Bay. They went to the Meadowlands to play, to MetLife Stadium to play the Jets, and they went to Foxborough. They're 1-2 in those games.
Yeah,
2-1 in those games, but still, you got to travel from Washington to the East Coast. Yeah. I don't care if you win or lose. It's still tough.
Yeah, will they be able to put enough points? I already mentioned this a little bit. Their problem scoring on the road this season. Are they going to be able to put up enough points to begin with? Yeah. Because, Matt Ryan and company's going to put up points.
Yeah, and as you said, Rawls had a good game last week against Detroit, but other than that, he really didn't. Their running game's been awful all year, I think. They're going to have to rely on the run game. Russell Wilson can't do everything by himself. I mean, go back to that Alabama-Clemson game. Look what Jalen Hurts had to do, because they couldn't run the ball after Bo Scarborough went down. Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to beat Seattle.
I think I just remember their other road loss, Green Bay.
They did lose to Green Bay.
They did.
That was only a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago now.
They didn't put too many points in that game yet.
No, they did not.
That was the Russell Wilson 5 interception game.
which I believe his most interceptions in one game in his 5-year career.
Easily.
If I'm not
mistaken.
mistaken.
Not too many guys throw 5 in a game ever.
No, they don't.
So
maybe on Madden or NCAA, or maybe in backyard football.
Perhaps, but nevertheless. I was getting into also. I think the Falcons are going to be able to get after them, rush Russell Wilson pretty well. Of course, I mentioned this last week. Vic Beasley,
leading the league in sacks.
Well, technically led the league in sacks regular season. Then of course, I think they might get a few turnovers, possibly. Maybe a little bit of callback to that Packers game where he threw 5 picks. Russell Wilson.
And those fans are going to be pumped up because, if Dallas beats Green Bay, and if Atlanta wins, this is last game in the Georgia Dome before they move into their new stadium. So, which is right next door, but still, it's the Georgia Dome. It's an iconic stadium.
Yes. But nevertheless, let's go into that last game. The Packers, Cowboys. You've already basically said who you're taking, just in passing almost.
Well, if you caught it, yeah, because I said.
But you're taking the Packers.
The Falcons game this weekend will not be the last in the Georgia Dome because they are the number 2 seed. If Dallas loses, who they're the 1 seed, and Atlanta wins, they get the NFC title game, which I think they will. So yeah, Green Bay beats Dallas. The last time Dallas started 8-1 in the playoffs. It's been three different times. Actually, the last time they started 8-1 in the regular season, they lost in the playoffs. Excuse me. So Dallas loses to Green Bay.
Is that all you got?
Well, as for now, yeah, I don't know what you're gonna say.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I got the Packers.
I got a little more information I want to say here.
I also have the Packers.
Gotta hold it back.
They're easily the hottest team in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
I also don't know how both Dak and Zeke are going to perform in this game under the high pressure of the playoffs as rookies. They did well in the regular season, but this is a totally another ballpark
It is.
here. Playoff
And
time.
they've had rest for really 3 weeks now. Going back to that Detroit game on Monday night right after Christmas. Because they're off last week. Well, technically 2 full weeks. Because they were off last week, didn't have to play in the wild card game. And then Zeke and Dak pretty much sat the whole entire game against Philly in the regular season finale. So they're rested. But the reason why Green Bay's going to win is because Aaron Rodgers is going to make plays and he's going to outplay Dak Prescott. Experience is going to be a factor in this game.
Yeah, I think that might be a factor in that. One question, of course, going in is going to have to be no Jordy Nelson possibly for Aaron Rodgers.
He does have some broken ribs.
Doesn't have him out there. It's going to be a little bit harder, I think, because, of course, Nelson is probably his favorite target of all.
But Devontae Adams has stepped it up lately. Ty Montgomery running the ball.
Yeah,
and then catching it out of the backfield. He's turned on the Jets. I don't think Green Bay's going to have a problem. Now, the only problem would be maybe Lucky Whitehead returning a kick for Dallas. Dan Bailey maybe kicking 2, 3 50-yard field goals. And then Aaron Rodgers is going to have to make some plays, which I think he will.
Yeah, but
I think that's the only way.
Well, of course,
Dallas is in the game.
If Zeke Elliott runs the ball really well, it's going to be really hard to defeat the Cowboys at all. It doesn't matter what Dak does, I would have to say, because if Zeke Elliott's able to run it.
Because Dallas' offensive line is one of the best in the league. And a lot of people are going to say Zeke is the rookie of the year and possibly the NFL MVP. And who knows? I know he didn't break Dickerson's regular season rushing record, but I don't know what that and his postseason record would be combined. Maybe Zeke has a chance to break that. I'm not sure. I didn't really look into that. I literally just thought of it now. Zeke, he'll have a good game. He'll have a good game.
More than likely, you should. It's kind of hard to get a read on how well the Packers' rush defense is doing from last week, because, of course, we know the Giants aren't exactly a running team. They don't really have too many good running backs. Jennings, I don't even think played at all. I think it's Paul Perkins now, a rookie, is basically the running back, which we know the Giants don't run the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball for a while now.
And now, the reason why I picked the Giants over the Packers last week was because I thought the Giants were a better team matched up against Packers. But I think the Packers whoever would have won that game, I still thought was going to be Dallas because the Giants already beat them twice, and then as I said, I'm picking Green Bay, so I think Green Bay's better than Dallas right now. So
all right, I'm going Packers as well. It's going to be
really
okay. It should be a good game. I'm sure of it. It's just going to come down to, I think, if Dallas can control the clock like the way they can, that might be enough for them. But then again, with Aaron Rodgers, that offense of Green Bay can just score like that possibly. I don't know if clock management with the Cowboys is going to work too well against a guy like Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be tough to tell. But nevertheless, I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. I feel like it might be a pretty highly contested, high-scoring game. Two very high-powered offenses in this game. I can see that. Probably maybe both teams in the 30s. Hopefully, we get some closer games here in the divisional round.
Hopefully this doesn't turn into the game 2 years ago in Green Bay, which there was a call that Des Bryant didn't catch the ball. So hopefully it doesn't come down to that and somebody wins and loses because of it. But we're both picking Green Bay. And as I said, with Houston beating New England, in my opinion, Houston's obviously going to have to go on the road to either Kansas City or Pittsburgh. I have Pittsburgh, so they go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh hosts the AFC title game against Houston on the 22nd at 6. And then Atlanta is going to host Green Bay in another rematch from Halloween. And then I'd really, really like to see it. Texans, Falcons, Super Bowl, to be honest with you. But Houston's hosting the Super Bowl. No host city, that team has ever played in the Super Bowl during that year. So Houston's out then. And then Atlanta, they always seem to choke late in the playoffs. Who knows? Seattle could win because Atlanta could choke. But it reminds me of when the 49ers came to town in the NFC title game a couple years back. And then San Francisco ended up winning and went to the Super Bowl. And Atlanta had a high-powered offense that year as well. And, very similar this year. So I'd really like to see a Texans-Falcons Super Bowl, but I'm going to stick to my gut. Going back to the preseason picks, I said the Steelers are going to be playing the Packers in Super Bowl 51 down in Houston at NRG Stadium. You can go back to episode 18 to watch it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're over there doing that. So I'm going to stick to it. Steelers, Packers, and Super Bowl. I don't know if you want to make Super Bowl pick with the teams that are left at the moment, but that's what I have to say.
Sure, I will, and I'll also keep my preseason pick of Patriots, Packers.
All right.
So,
all right.
We're doing something right, I guess.
Yeah, we are. He did beat me in the college football picks this year, but at this moment, I am currently beating him by 3 games in the NFL picks.
I'm the only one after.
We are on the same page this week, except for 2 games.
You picked the Texans.
Yeah, and then you picked the Chiefs. So he could catch up. It might come down to Super Bowl 51 to see who wins our NFL picks for this year. But it might not. Who knows?
You better hope it's not. 2-0 in championship games right now.
You are. That being the FCS National Championship game and the College Football Playoff National Championship game, which were this past weekend, as we said earlier. As I said earlier, question of the day today. You can comment on it here on Facebook. Go vote on our poll on Twitter and comment on it in the comments over on Instagram. Is who's going to win tonight's NHL game between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. I'm taking the Penguins. You can even let us know right now if you're listening to us or watching us. And he's going to take the Washington. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's taking the Washington Capitals. And then what we decided for episode 40 today, January 11th, 2017, for our question of the week is, what do you think of Odell Beckham Jr.'s actions lately? With him, especially everything throughout the season, with him proposing to the net, everything being finished with that then. And then last Monday, they had an off day. Him and a lot of other players went to Miami, and they're on a boat, partying it up. And then after they lost on Sunday, he punched a hole in the wall, which, as I found out, Aaron Rodgers said it's not covered by State Farm, but we'll have to check into that. So I don't know what you thought about his actions lately, Corey.
I mean, lately, his entire career, even, they're a bit of a problem, I would say.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about it is, like, it's okay if you come and you dominate, basically. Like, if you use that to your advantage, like, and don't make it a distraction.
He is one of the best wide receivers in the game at the moment.
I don't know if I would say that. He had his rookie season was good, and then people made him a superstar because of it. But nevertheless, he made one catch.
He did.
And now he's a superstar.
Yeah.
But if he comes in and plays well, the only thing that's really escalating this whole Miami situation now is because of how he played in this game.
He had, 5-6 drops?
He had 4 catches on 12 targets.
8 drops.
2 drops, actual drops.
Okay.
And then, I mean, the rest of them must have just been Eli didn't get it to him, or there's no defense. But still, he only had 4 catches for 20-some yards. Played really poorly, you could say. I mean, as a wideout, you can only do so much. You have to run the route, and your quarterback has to throw it to you, obviously. But still, a superstar of his caliber on that team did not really show up in that game, and it only made the whole Miami situation more highlighted because of it wouldn't have been as much.
Yeah, because
people wouldn't have cared if he had a 100-yard game or something.
Well, that, and especially if the Giants would have won, no one would be talking about it right now.
No.
But since they lost, it's what everybody's talking about.
And then with the hole in the wall thing, at least,
he was
to do
pissed
something
off,
like,
I know that.
I mean, yeah, I get that you're pissed off. You lost. You played poorly. Maybe try to do that in the locker room or something with no one else around.
Yeah, with no media there, or hell, even do it at your own home for God's sakes.
Like, try to do it a little bit more privately. Try to keep to yourself with people around. That way, it doesn't become a big deal.
Yeah. He's in my opinion, he's doing it for attention.
Possibly.
And as you said, that one catch made people think he is a superstar. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. His numbers, they don't lie. But because of that catch, everything just, the pace was turned up, a lot more than what a lot of people thought it would be at this time, with him being in his 3rd season. So I think he's doing it for attention, but I don't know. Let us know what you think. Right here on our comments if you're watching or listening to us, in the YouTube comment section, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll have that up here momentarily on all those. And then, what else we got here? You can buy our merch. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today, right?
Let's wrap it up.
We don't have anything else for today.
No,
to talk about. Okay. You can buy our merch, including this hat that I'm currently wearing at the moment, for only $15. And then our shirts are $15 as well, 2X for $18. Get a hold of us if you would like one of those. We still have some available. Like us here on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at ATGL16 and Instagram at ATGL16. You can follow me on Twitter at CoolhandLuke96, and you can follow me on Instagram at LGodissart96. That's LGODISSART 96. He does not have an Instagram, but you can follow him on Twitter at CAMains14. And then YouTube, so be sure to subscribe to us. Share this post, share this video. Retweet our tweets, repost our posts on Instagram if you have the repost app, and then you can email us any questions or concerns at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. And before we go, I don't know, do we have any questions on there pop up? No. So thanks for tuning in today, and we'll be back next week, January 18th. Next Wednesday, right here on Facebook Live. So be sure to tell your friends, and we'll see you next week.